about the 3D printing, yes.
So you're the 3D printing expert at Creation Station, which is wonderful. Tell us why it's such an exciting field.
3D printing, or as I prefer to call it, 3D technology, is interesting because it has underlying, it has an understructure, and we'll get to that in a minute. But just to tell you a little bit about how it operates, up until 1986, the most common way of doing manufacturing was to take a piece of wood, steel, rock, you name it, and carve away at it. You could drill it, mill it, pound on it, file it, you name it, and you'd chip away all the pieces you don't want. It's like what sculptors say, David is in there, I just have to chisel him out. But in 1986, a man named Chuck Hull devised ways of building from the ground up. Instead of starting with your material, you start with a blank bed, which this represents, and is actually a 3D bed from a printer. And you deposit things on the bed. Now, this isn't the only way, I should tell you. There's other ways of doing 3D printing, but this is the least expensive one and the one we use most commonly for the children. And you take a piece of plastic. You see, this material here is just a reel of plastic like this. It goes into the head, and power comes in here. There's a little heater, and there's a motor that pushes this down. And this heats up and melts the plastic, and out here comes a little thread which is less than ½ millimeter across, and there's a machine, a CNC machine, which stands for Computer Numerical Control, that deposits that plastic thread on the base plate. And when it's done with one layer, it goes up to the next and up to the next. So here's a typical thing that can be generated by 3D, and this ball actually moves around, as you can see. And when people ask how it's done, they want to know, well, did you put the ball in the box or did you build a box around the ball? And I said, well, what really happened is the ball was never out of the box and the box was never empty because it was all made in layers. And this cardboard model sort of gives you the hint of how layers are used to build up an object, so forth. So 3D printing actually builds the object, actually sort of inside out from the ground up, and you can have any sort of internal structure. You can have any sort of internal structure you want, and that's very powerful because you can formulate, you can fabricate things that were never actually possible before, things that have internal structure.
That's great.
So you couldn't have done stuff like that. Now, with the children. The children get 3D right away when they're young, and that's a learning opportunity. And I think that those kind of 3D skills are going to be very important to being employable, to being knowledgeable, and sort of like computer skills are now in science, in business, and so forth.
You're on the literal cutting edge.
Exactly, exactly.
Excellent, excellent.
Except we're not cutting, we're extruding.
Very good.
Okay.
Excellent. So just very quickly in a few words, as technology continues to advance, where do you see the future growth for Creation Station, both of you?
Yeah, I think 3D printing is going to be big. And we just started a 3D printing meetup where adults come and build their own 3D printers, and I think it's open source printers, so it's kind of like an experience that we want the high school kids and the science teachers, and I think 3D printing is going to be huge, and I think we want to be part of this revolution, and I think that's we see as a digital fabrication, as we call it, is where we want to position ourselves in. And
well, I wish you the most success in this new venture. It's very, very exciting. And
Thank
congratulations on Creation Station and all that the future holds for both of you and for the Creation Station. And thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathleen.
You're welcome.